The clock on the wall read 2:17 a.m. Professor Alex Morgan rubbed his tired eyes, but kept staring at the computer screen. Everyone else had left the Northwestern University lab hours ago, but Alex couldn't tear himself away from the strange readings. "This can't be right," he muttered to himself. For the past 3 nights, his deep space monitoring equipment had picked up an unusual pattern. At first, he thought it was just equipment failure, but after running several diagnostics, he knew this was something else. The signal wasn't random noise. It had structure, repeating elements, mathematical precision. Alex reached for his phone and scrolled to Olivia's number. He hesitated, knowing his graduate student would be asleep, but this couldn't wait until morning. Olivia Clark answered on the 4th ring, her voice groggy. "Professor, it's the middle of the night. I need you at the lab," Alex said. "The signal is back, stronger than before." 40 minutes later, Olivia stood behind Alex's chair, her eyes wide as she watched the pattern unfold across the screen. "It's directed at us," she whispered. "Look at the narrow band focus. Whatever this is, it's meant specifically for Earth." Over the next 3 weeks, Alex and Olivia barely left the lab. They took shifts sleeping on the old couch in the corner office. They ordered takeout and drank too much coffee. Word got out. Other scientists came to see their data. Then government officials arrived. On day 23, a black SUV pulled up outside the science building. A woman in a navy blue suit stepped out and flashed her credentials at the security guard. Her name was Dr. Samantha Williams, and she specialized in linguistics for the government. "Professor Morgan," she said when she entered the lab, "I believe you found something important." Alex nodded. "It's a message. We're certain now." Samantha's team set up their equipment alongside Alex's. They brought in supercomputers, specialists, and military personnel who stood guard at the doors. For days, they worked to decode the signal. "It's not just mathematics," Samantha explained during a briefing 1 week later. "There are patterns that suggest language, syntax, repetition, variation. We believe it's an attempt to establish communication." On day 35, they had their breakthrough. "It's an invitation," Samantha announced to the room full of scientists and government officials. "They call themselves the Galactic Coalition. They've been observing Earth for some time, and they believe we've reached a development stage where contact is appropriate." The room erupted in questions, but she raised her hand for silence. "They want to send representatives, a diplomatic mission to formally invite Earth to join their interstellar community." In the days that followed, the world changed. At first, the government tried to keep it quiet, but news this big couldn't stay secret. When the president made the announcement on live television, people reacted with everything from joy to panic. Some headed to churches, others to bars. Some packed up and headed to remote cabins in the mountains. Alex found himself transferred to a new facility in Washington, D.C., where he worked alongside Samantha and a team of experts preparing for the arrival. Olivia came too, her university studies put on hold. "Do you think we're ready for this?" Olivia asked Alex one evening as they looked over the latest transmission from the coalition. "No," Alex said honestly, "but I don't think we'll ever be fully ready for something like this." 3 months after the first signal, radar stations around the world detected an object entering the solar system. It moved unlike anything humans had built, decelerating from incredible speeds without any visible propulsion system. The alien delegation was coming to Earth, and nothing would ever be the same. As the ship approached Earth orbit, Alex stood in the control room watching the monitors. Years of studying the possibility of extraterrestrial life hadn't prepared him for the reality of it. "They're hailing us," a technician announced. The room fell silent as the first direct communication began. A voice spoke, not in any human language but somehow translated through their own technology. "People of Earth, we extend greetings from the Galactic Coalition. We come in peace and friendship to welcome you to the greater community of intelligent species." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger universe. The alien ship hung in the sky above Earth like a silver teardrop. It reflected the sunlight so brightly that people could see it without telescopes during the day. At night, it outshone the moon. For 3 months, people had prepared for this moment. Now the visitors were here. At the Nevada military base, NASA Director John Phillips checked his watch for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Beside him, National Security Advisor Diane Harper spoke quietly into her earpiece. "The landing craft has detached from the main vessel," she announced. "Estimated arrival in 15 minutes. John nodded. His mouth felt dry. He was about to meet beings from another world. His team had converted an aircraft hangar into a reception area with controlled temperature, special lighting, and security measures. No one knew exactly what conditions the aliens needed to survive. "Remember," Diane said to the gathered officials, "no sudden movements. Follow the protocol exactly as we practiced." A fleet of fighter jets escorted the alien shuttle as it descended through the atmosphere. The craft made no sound as it landed on the runway, despite its size. It was smooth and oval-shaped, with no visible windows or doors. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then a section of the hull simply disappeared, revealing an opening. A ramp extended to the ground. 5 creatures emerged, each different from the others. They wore what looked like thin, shimmering bodysuits that covered them completely. The one in front was tall and slender with 4 arms and blue-tinted skin visible through its transparent helmet. This was Ambassador Zorkel of the Arcturians, according to the information they had sent ahead. Behind Zorkel came beings of various shapes and sizes. One moved on 6 leg-like appendages, another floated slightly above the ground, and 2 others walked on 2 legs, but with bodies nothing like humans. As they approached, John noticed something odd. Their movements seemed strained and careful. The ambassador took small steps, as if afraid of falling. "Welcome to Earth," John said, following the greeting they had practiced. "I am Director John Phillips of NASA, and this is National Security Advisor Diane Harper." Ambassador Zorkel's helmet translated his response into English. "The Coalition extends gratitude for your welcome. Forgive our slow movements. Your world's pull is intense." John realized what was happening. The aliens were struggling with Earth's gravity. What humans took for granted was difficult for them. Inside the hangar, the delegation moved even more cautiously. When the air conditioning system cycled on, 2 of the aliens visibly flinched at the sudden breeze. "Is something wrong?" Diane asked. The floating alien, introduced as Science Officer Valorian, replied through the translator. "Your atmosphere moves with unexpected force. Most homeworlds have gentler air currents." The meeting continued with careful exchanges of information. The aliens presented gifts of knowledge, data crystals containing medical information and star charts. They asked simple questions about Earth's societies and customs. When a technician accidentally dropped a tool, creating a loud clang, all 5 aliens reacted with alarm. One produced a high-pitched sound that hurt human ears. "I apologize for our reaction," Ambassador Zorkel said after they had calmed. "Your world is very loud." As the meeting ended and the aliens returned to their ship for rest, they explained they needed shorter active periods in Earth's conditions. John and Diane walked back to the base together. "Did you notice how everything bothered them?" John asked. "The gravity, the sounds, even the air movement." Diane nodded. Their environmental suits were working overtime. "The readings we got showed they were adjusting temperature, pressure, filtering air compounds. Earth is hard on them." "I thought advanced species would be tougher," John said. "Maybe that's not how it works," Diane replied thoughtfully. "Maybe we're the unusual ones." That night, the alien ship glowed softly in Earth orbit as analysts and scientists reviewed recordings of the meeting. In their reports, one phrase kept appearing: "The aliens found Earth physically challenging." No one yet understood what this meant for humanity's place in the galaxy. But tomorrow would bring more meetings, more exchanges, and perhaps more surprises about how special or dangerous Earth might be to the rest of the universe. The United Nations building in New York was packed with people. Leaders from every major country sat in the main hall. TV cameras broadcast to billions of viewers worldwide. 1 week had passed since the aliens landed, and today they would address Earth's representatives. Ambassador Zorkel stood at the podium, his 4 blue arms moving slowly as he spoke. His environmental suit had been upgraded, but he still moved carefully in Earth's gravity. "We thank you for this opportunity to explain the Galactic Coalition," he said through his translator. "Our community includes 147 intelligent species across 800 worlds." The room stayed silent as he continued. "When we find new civilizations ready for contact, we classify their worlds. This helps us understand how to interact and what support they might need." Behind Zorkel, a holographic display appeared, showing planets of different colors. "We use a simple system," he explained. "Class 1 worlds are paradise planets. Perfect conditions, minimal dangers, ideal for life. Class 5 worlds have moderate challenges, but are comfortable for most species." The display shifted to show darker planets. Class 8 worlds have significant hazards. Few species choose to settle these planets. Class 9 and 10 are what we call Deathworlds. Conditions so extreme that most intelligent life cannot survive without special technology. Zorkel paused, his large eyes scanning the room. "Earth is classified as a Class 9 Deathworld." Murmurs filled the hall. Translators whispered into the ears of world leaders. Did they hear correctly? A Deathworld. Dr. Samantha Williams, sitting in the front row with other science advisors, raised her hand. "Ambassador, there must be a mistake. Billions of humans live here comfortably." Science Officer Valorian floated forward, his body hovering slightly above the stage. "There is no error," he said. "By galactic standards, Earth is extraordinarily dangerous." He activated his own display, showing Earth statistics. "Your gravity is 60% stronger than the galactic average for inhabited worlds. Your atmospheric pressure is twice the standard. Your temperature variations are extreme, from burning deserts to freezing poles." Valorian continued, listing Earth's hazards. "Your planet experiences constant geological instability. Earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis. You have weather systems that routinely destroy buildings. Your oceans cover 70% of the surface with water so chemically potent it corrodes metal." The room grew quieter as he went on. "Most concerning is your biosphere. Earth has more predator species than 90% of known worlds. You have microscopic organisms that can kill in days, plants that are poisonous to touch, insects that inject venom, large animals that hunt for food." President Eleanor Grant of the United States stood up. "These things seem normal to us. Are you saying other worlds don't have these dangers?" "Correct," Zorkel confirmed. "Most intelligent species evolved on worlds with far fewer threats. Their bodies are adapted for thinking, not surviving constant danger." Professor Alex Morgan watched from his seat near the back. Suddenly, the aliens' physical struggles made sense. They weren't weak. Earth was exceptionally harsh. "What does this classification mean for our relationship?" asked the Secretary General of the UN. Zorkel's translator voice remained calm. "It means we underestimated you. Humans have not merely survived on a death world. You have built civilizations, art, music, philosophy. You have done what few species could." He turned to face the cameras directly. "It also means humans are physically stronger, more durable, and more adaptable than most coalition species. Your bodies evolved to endure conditions we find nearly impossible." The implications washed over the room. Humans weren't average. On the galactic scale, they were extraordinary survivors. "We have much to learn from each other," Zorkel concluded. "But please understand that while this is your normal environment, to us, Earth is one of the most dangerous planets in known space." As the meeting ended, people spoke in excited whispers. Alex found Samantha in the hall outside. Everything we thought about our place in the universe just changed, she said quietly. Alex nodded. We always wondered if we'd be the primitive species. It never occurred to me that we might be the tough ones. Neither of them realized yet how important this distinction would soon become. 2 weeks had passed since the United Nations meeting. The alien delegation now stayed at a special facility in Colorado. The building had been modified to make the aliens more comfortable. Lower gravity chambers, quieter systems, and filtered air. Marine Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood at attention outside the main conference room. At 6 feet tall with short black hair, she commanded respect without saying a word. Across from her stood Army Major Kevin Bennett, his face serious beneath his crew cut. I still can't believe we're babysitting aliens, Kevin whispered. Lisa nodded slightly. Just remember, we're representing all of humanity here. The door opened, and Ambassador Zorkel emerged with his 4-person security team. Today they would tour the military training grounds. The government wanted to show how humans train for defense, while reassuring the aliens that Earth posed no threat to the coalition. Captain Rodriguez, Major Bennett, Zorkel greeted them. We look forward to understanding your defensive capabilities. They walked toward the vehicles that would take them to the demonstration area. Science Officer Valorian floated beside them, his instruments constantly scanning the environment. Your oxygen levels vary greatly even within this facility, Valorian noted. How do you maintain optimal brain function with such fluctuations? Kevin looked confused. We just breathe normally. Our bodies adjust automatically. Valorian made a sound like tiny bells ringing. Fascinating. Most species require precise atmospheric stability. At the training grounds, human soldiers demonstrated standard exercises, obstacle courses, weapon accuracy tests, and combat simulations. The aliens watched with what seemed like concern. These activities appeared dangerous, said Trilxa, the coalition medical officer. She had 6 eyes arranged in a circle around her head and walked on backward-bending legs. Do your people often sustain injuries during training? Minor ones, Lisa explained, but our bodies heal quickly. The tour continued to an indoor facility where the aliens could remove their helmets in a controlled environment. They sat in specially designed chairs while officers explained Earth's defense protocols. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed along the walls. Fire detected in Section C, announced an automated voice. All personnel evacuate immediately. The aliens froze, their bodies rigid with what looked like fear. Smoke began seeping under a door at the far end of the hall. This way, Kevin shouted, pointing to the exit. But before they could move, they heard cries from behind the smoking door. There are people in the lab, a technician yelled. Without hesitation, Lisa and Kevin ran toward the smoke, not away from it. What are you doing? Zorkel called after them, his voice high with alarm. Lisa pulled her shirt over her nose and mouth. Kevin kicked open the door. Thick smoke poured out, but they plunged inside. The aliens watched in shock as minutes passed. The smoke grew thicker. Then Lisa emerged, supporting a coughing scientist with one arm. Kevin followed, carrying another person over his shoulder. Medical teams rushed forward with oxygen masks. The 2 soldiers returned to the smoke-filled room twice more, bringing out 2 additional scientists before emergency crews arrived with proper equipment. When it was over, Lisa and Kevin stood dirty and coughing, but otherwise unharmed. The aliens stared at them with what could only be described as awe. You voluntarily entered a combustion zone, Trilxa said, examining them with a scanning device. The heat was sufficient to cause significant tissue damage to most species. The smoke contained multiple toxins. Someone needed help, Lisa said simply, as if that explained everything. Later, in the medical facility, Trilxa conducted tests on the 2 soldiers with their permission. Her findings caused an emergency meeting among the alien delegation. Their lung capacity is 3 times galactic standard, she reported. Bone density nearly 4 times. Muscle recovery rates unprecedented. Even their skin resisted heat damage that would kill most Grenfell miners. Ambassador Zorkel sat quietly, considering. Is this unusual for humans? He finally asked. No, Kevin replied. Lisa and I are fit, but not exceptional by human standards. Many people could have done what we did. The aliens exchanged looks that needed no translation. What humans considered normal, the rest of the galaxy would view as extraordinary. That night, as Lisa filed her incident report, Kevin stopped by her office. I overheard Valorian talking to the ambassador, he said. They're sending our medical data back to the Coalition Council. Lisa looked up. Is that good or bad? I'm not sure, Kevin admitted. But Valorian said something strange. He said they must be warned about what Earth has produced. The small town of Pine Ridge, Colorado, sat nestled in the mountains. With only 5,000 residents, it was the kind of place where everyone knew each other. Sheriff Daniel Wright liked it that way. After 15 years as an Army Ranger, he enjoyed the quiet life. That quiet ended on a Tuesday morning when strange lights appeared in the sky over Pine Ridge. Daniel was drinking coffee at May's Diner when his radio crackled. Sheriff, we've got reports of unusual aircraft above the North Ridge, his deputy said. Multiple calls coming in. Daniel stepped outside and looked up. 3 small craft, unlike any planes he had ever seen, descended toward the town center. They moved silently, with a grace that seemed impossible. Call the state police, he told his deputy over the radio. Tell them we might have contact with the alien delegation. But Daniel felt uneasy. The official alien delegation was supposed to be at the government facility 60 miles away. These ships weren't following any of the protocols that had been announced on the news. The craft landed in the town park. Doors slid open and creatures emerged. They were nothing like the aliens shown on TV. These stood nearly 7 feet tall with scaled skin and sharp teeth visible in their elongated mouths. They wore armor and carried objects that could only be weapons. A crowd of curious townspeople gathered at a distance. Daniel pushed through them. Everyone back, he ordered. Get inside. Lock your doors. One of the creatures stepped forward. It wore a helmet with glowing symbols. Humans, it said through some kind of translator. We are Vraks, warriors of the Coalition. This settlement is now under our authority for testing purposes. Daniel kept his hand near his gun. This town is under the protection of the United States government. You need to leave immediately. The Vraks made a sound like laughter. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us. We will test the combat capabilities of this world's inhabitants. Those who surrender will not be permanently damaged. Before Daniel could respond, the Vraks fired a weapon. A net of glowing energy wrapped around a nearby man, sending him to the ground in pain. Daniel drew his gun and fired. The bullet bounced off the Vrax's armor, but the creature stepped back in surprise. All citizens, take cover. Daniel shouted, firing again to buy time. This is not a friendly visit. What followed was chaos. The Vraks spread through town, capturing people with their energy nets. But Pine Ridge residents didn't make it easy. Daniel organized resistance from the police station, using the hunting rifles from the gun store next door. Frank Miller, who ran the hardware store, created makeshift smoke bombs that confused the aliens' vision systems. Susan Cooper, the high school chemistry teacher, mixed fertilizer and diesel fuel into crude explosives that damaged one of the alien craft. The Vraks had expected easy targets. Instead, they found humans who fought back with everything available. When the aliens cornered a group in the school gymnasium, they were met with Molotov cocktails made from liquor bottles. When they tried to use their advanced scanning technology, locals used the water towers to flood the streets, shorting out their equipment. By nightfall, the people of Pine Ridge had destroyed one alien ship and damaged another. 6 Vraks were trapped in the old mining tunnels beneath the town, lured there by teenagers who knew every hidden entrance and exit. Daniel wiped blood from a cut on his forehead as he coordinated from the police station. They expected us to be helpless, he told the group of armed citizens around him. They don't understand what humans are capable of. Miles away at the official diplomatic facility, alarms sounded as unauthorized Vrax ships were detected. Ambassador Zorkel was awakened from rest. "This is not coalition-sanctioned," he insisted to the human officials. "The Vrax act against our explicit orders." Emergency teams raced toward Pine Ridge, but by the time military helicopters arrived the next morning, they found a surprising scene. The remaining Vrax, only 7 of the original 20, had surrendered to the townspeople. Daniel stood with zip ties on his belt and a shotgun in his hands as coalition representatives rushed forward. "Your hunters tried to test us," he told them simply. "They failed." Ambassador Zorkel stared at the damaged alien ships and the captured Vrax warriors. His forehands trembled slightly. It wasn't just that humans had defeated a superior force with primitive weapons. It was how quickly they had adapted, how naturally they had fought back. "We have made a terrible miscalculation," he said quietly to Science Officer Valorian. "The hegemony must be informed immediately of what Deathworld humans are truly capable of." 1 week after the Pine Ridge incident, Ambassador Zorkel requested a private meeting with key human representatives. The meeting took place in a secure room at the diplomatic facility, with no recording devices allowed. Dr. Samantha Williams and diplomat Eric Foster represented Earth. As linguistic expert and chief negotiator respectively, they had worked closely with the aliens since first contact. They sat across from Zorkel, whose blue skin looked paler than usual. "What I share today must remain confidential," Zorkel began. "The attack on your town was not random. It was ordered by a powerful faction within the coalition called the Hegemony." Eric leaned forward. "We were told the coalition was united." "Publicly, yes," Zorkel said. "But like any large political entity, we have competing interests. The Hegemony controls nearly a third of coalition worlds and resources." He activated a small device that projected a map of the galaxy. Different sections lit up in various colors. The Hegemony believes expansion must be controlled. They fear species that develop too quickly or show unusual abilities. "Like humans," Samantha said. "Precisely. When Earth was classified as a death world, it raised concerns. When your soldiers demonstrated exceptional physical capabilities, those concerns grew. The Pine Ridge incident confirmed their worst fears." "That humans can defend themselves?" Eric asked. Zorkel's forehands made a complex gesture. "That humans can defeat technologically superior forces using primitive tools and raw physical advantages. The Vrax are elite hunters from a gravity world, almost as heavy as Earth. They were sent to prove humans could be easily controlled." "They were wrong," Samantha said. "Yes, and now the Hegemony is demanding the Coalition Council review Earth's admission process." Eric took notes on a small pad. "What does that mean for us?" "It means," Zorkel said carefully, "that I must bring representatives from Earth to the Coalition's central world. You must speak on humanity's behalf." The request surprised both humans. They had expected years of preliminary diplomacy before visiting alien worlds. "When would we leave?" Eric asked. "Tomorrow. The Council meets in 7 Earth days." The next morning, Samantha and Eric boarded the alien shuttle with minimal luggage. President Grant had personally approved the mission, understanding its importance for Earth's future. The journey to the Coalition's central world took only 2 days, though it was many light years away. The alien ship used technology that bent space itself, making the vast distance meaningless. When they arrived, the humans were given environmental suits. "The atmosphere is safe," their guide explained, "but gravity is 40% of Earth's. You must move carefully to avoid injury." The central world orbited a gentle orange star. Its sky was pink, its plants purple and blue. Buildings rose miles into the air, connected by transparent tubes where creatures of all shapes floated or walked. In their low-gravity suits, Samantha and Eric felt like they were bouncing with each step. They were taken to the council chamber, a massive room where hundreds of species gathered on floating platforms. The head of the council, A crystalline being named Exurath addressed them first. "Humans of Earth, you come before us as potential members, but serious concerns have been raised by the hegemony delegation." A large creature with tentacles and glowing spots moved its platform forward. This was High Commander Krug, leader of the hegemony. "These creatures evolved on a Deathworld," Krug said, his translator making his voice sound deep and threatening. "They are physically superior to most coalition species. With access to our technology, they could overwhelm peaceful worlds." "That is not our intention," Eric responded calmly. "Intentions change," Krug continued. "History shows that species with physical advantages often become conquerors. Deathworlders are unpredictable and dangerous." Samantha studied the reactions of the various council members. Some seemed afraid, others curious. She realized something important. They weren't just judging humans on their physical capabilities. They were watching how humans thought, how they processed information. During a break in the proceedings, Zorkel approached them. "You are doing well," he said quietly. "But there is something you should know. The hegemony fears humans not just for your strength, but for your adaptability. Most species excel in their specific environments. Humans seem able to thrive anywhere, to solve problems in unique ways." Samantha nodded slowly. "On Earth, we call that survival instinct." "In the galaxy," Zorkel replied, "it may be your most dangerous quality of all." The Coalition Council debate lasted 3 days. Samantha and Eric spoke passionately about Earth's peaceful intentions. They showed videos of human cooperation, art, and scientific achievements. But the hegemony representatives countered with footage from the Pine Ridge incident, highlighting human aggression. On the final day, High Commander Krug called for a vote. "We cannot risk the stability of our civilization," he declared. "The humans must be contained until we can be certain they pose no threat." The vote was close, but the hegemony had powerful allies. When the results appeared on the floating screens around the chamber, Samantha's heart sank. "The Council has decided," announced Exurath. "Earth will be given 2 options. Accept permanent containment within your solar system, with monitored technology development, or face sterilization." "Sterilization?" Eric asked, his voice tense. "The removal of all technology beyond primitive levels," Krug explained. "Your world would be quarantined for 500 years minimum." Samantha stood up. "This is unacceptable. Earth has shown no hostile intent toward the Coalition." "Intent is not the issue," Krug responded. "Capability is. The Pine Ridge humans defeated elite Vrax warriors using primitive weapons. Imagine what they could do with Coalition technology." As the council session ended, Samantha and Eric were escorted back to their quarters. Ambassador Zorkel joined them later, his movements showing clear distress. "I apologize for how this has unfolded," he said. "Many of us fought against this decision." "What happens now?" Eric asked. "The hegemony will send a fleet to Earth within 30 days. They will establish orbital control points to enforce containment." After Zorkel left, Eric sent an emergency message back to Earth using the communication device they had been given. President Grant and her advisors needed to know what was coming. Later that night, someone knocked on their door. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood in the hallway, wearing the environmental suit needed for humans on the low-gravity world. "The ambassador sent me to bring you to a private meeting," she said. Samantha was surprised to see Lisa on the alien world. "When did you arrive?" "Yesterday with a small security team," Lisa explained as they walked through quiet corridors. "The president insisted on military representation after your initial reports." They entered a small room where Zorkel waited with Science Officer Valorian. The aliens checked for listening devices before speaking. "What I am about to do violates council orders," Zorkel said. "But I believe the hegemony's actions are wrong." He handed Lisa a small crystal device. "This contains information about coalition weapon systems, including weaknesses in their shield design." Lisa took it carefully. "Why are you helping us?" "Because in my 400 years as a diplomat, I have never seen a species with your potential," Zorkel replied. "The hegemony fears you. I believe the galaxy may one day need you." Back on Earth, NASA Director John Phillips received the emergency message from Eric. He immediately contacted the president, who called an emergency meeting of world leaders. "We have 30 days before alien ships arrive to enforce this containment," she told them. "We need options." Military leaders suggested using nuclear weapons. Scientists argued for diplomatic solutions. No one had clear answers for fighting a technologically superior force. In his lab at Northwestern University, Professor Alex Morgan worked day and night analyzing the data from the coalition. Something bothered him about the historical records the aliens had shared. "There's a pattern here," he told Olivia as they examined star charts. "Look at these radiation signatures around Earth compared to other inhabited worlds." Olivia looked at the data. "They're completely different." "Exactly. And there's something else." Alex pulled up genetic comparisons between humans and other sentient species. "Our DNA shows markers that don't match natural evolution patterns." "What are you saying?" Olivia asked. "I'm saying Earth might not be our original home. The radiation signatures, the genetic anomalies, our unusual adaptability for this harsh planet. It suggests we were placed here, not born here." Alex sat back in his chair, his mind racing. What if Earth isn't just a death world? What if it's a testing ground? As dawn broke, Alex sent his findings to Dr. Williams on the Coalition's Central World. If his theory was correct, it changed everything about humanity's place in the galaxy. Meanwhile, the hegemony fleet prepared for departure. 50 ships, armed with weapons that could destroy continents, began their journey toward the small blue planet that had caused so much concern. 28 days after the Council's decision, the hegemony fleet entered Earth's solar system. 50 warships, each larger than anything humans had built, moved past Jupiter on their final approach. On Earth, military forces stood ready. Weapons had been aimed skyward, though everyone knew they would likely prove useless against the alien technology. Still, humanity would not surrender without a fight. At the diplomatic facility in Colorado, Dr. Samantha Williams worked furiously with Professor Alex Morgan. They had been analyzing the data nonstop since her return from the Coalition world. "The final pieces fit," Alex said, pointing to ancient symbols found in archaeological sites across Earth. "These match Coalition records from over 50,000 years ago. And look." He showed her genetic markers unique to humans. "These are engineered patterns, not natural evolution." Samantha nodded. "So we weren't just classified as a Deathworld species. We were deliberately placed on a Deathworld to become what we are." "Exactly. The question is, why?" In orbit above Earth, Ambassador Zorkel's personal vessel maintained position between the approaching fleet and the planet. He had remained behind when the Council returned to the Central World, claiming he wished to witness the containment personally. "The hegemony ships will be in position within 6 hours," Science Officer Valorian reported. "They are preparing containment fields." Zorkel's 4 hands moved in a pattern that showed deep thought. "Has there been any response from Earth?" "Nothing yet. Their global communication networks show increased activity, but no official message." On the lead hegemony ship, High Commander Krug watched Earth grow larger on the view screen. "Such a small world to cause so much concern," he said to his officers. "Begin preparations for the containment grid." Suddenly, all Coalition vessels received an unexpected transmission. It originated from Earth but broadcast on frequencies only Coalition technology could access, knowledge that humans shouldn't possess. Dr. Samantha Williams appeared on their screens. Behind her stood humans from different countries. "This message is for all Coalition species," she began. "We reject the Council's decision regarding Earth's containment, but we will not respond with violence. Instead, we offer truth." The screen showed ancient symbols and genetic patterns. "Your own historical records confirm what we've discovered. Humans didn't evolve naturally on Earth. We were placed here by an advanced civilization that existed long before the Coalition. Krug's tentacles writhed in agitation. "Block this transmission." "We cannot," his communications officer replied. "It's being relayed through all Coalition emergency channels simultaneously, on billions of screens across Coalition worlds," Samantha continued. "Earth wasn't just any death world. It was deliberately chosen as a crucible, a testing ground to forge a species with unique abilities. Your own ancient records speak of a coming danger, a cosmic threat that would require a special kind of defender." The broadcast showed star charts from Coalition archives, highlighting a pattern approaching from outside the galaxy. "This threat, mentioned in your oldest records as the darkness between, will arrive within the next century. Your ancestors knew it was coming. They knew regular species from comfortable worlds wouldn't have the adaptability or resilience to fight it." In his ship, Zorkel watched in amazement. "They found the Cedar records," he whispered to Valorian. "Records even most Coalition scholars have forgotten." Samantha's voice grew stronger. "Humans aren't just another applicant for Coalition membership. We're the solution to a problem you've forgotten was coming. We weren't evolved. We were engineered, then placed on the harshest viable world to become stronger, more adaptable, more determined." On Earth, military leaders watched tensely as the alien fleet halted its approach. "We don't ask for special treatment," Samantha concluded, "but we ask for recognition of our true purpose. Earth is not a threat to the Coalition. It's your insurance policy, created by your own ancestors. The question isn't whether humans are too dangerous to join the galactic community. The question is whether the galaxy can afford to face the coming darkness without us." The transmission ended. For several hours, no response came from the Hegemony fleet. Then, a message arrived from the Coalition Council itself. The emergency session had reviewed Earth's evidence. The ancient records had been confirmed. Earth was immediately reclassified from Deathworld to Ascension World, a crucible created to forge defenders. The Hegemony fleet received new orders: escort, not containment. Earth would join the Coalition with full membership rights. As celebration broke out across Earth, Samantha found Alex in the lab.